The people who we already have interviews with, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
A guy from Rwanda, he works at, I think, the Hannaford in Falmouth, on a bus going to see his auntie, and terrorists get on board the bus with machetes. And they kill everybody on board, and then they come up to him, he's 15, and they say, you'll come help us murder people.
Wow.
And he said, my God doesn't operate that way. So they cut off both of his hands. And he was in an orphanage getting better. He got home to his house, and guess who lived right next door to him? The machete guy. And he had to forgive him.
Having a beer with Fred is really about getting to people's passion and what makes them tick. Having a beer and having honest, frank, clear conversation that inspires our audience is what it's about. Cheers.
Cheers.
You wanted to, I'm so excited that you both could come. And
oh, better sip before we, don't put it down before you sip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Well, you went to the right college for this, Providence College, for sure.
I did. I worked at the radio station WDOM and loved it. Learned how to do things there.
So we've known each other, both of you, for many, many years. Mm-hmm. But where are you from?
I grew up outside of Washington, D.C.
Wow.
In Maryland. After Providence College, I worked on an Indian reservation out in Montana. As you can imagine, was broke after being a volunteer. It was with the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. It's kind of like the Peace Corps here in the States. I've always been pretty scrappy, so I take jobs, here, there, and everywhere to, cover expenses. So I was able to make something work, and then I answered an ad in the paper for a stringer, and it was at the Great 98. Do you remember that? With Keith Shortall, Eleanor Thornton, Don Huff. This was back in the mid-'80s. Got a job with them, and I really didn't know anything what I was doing, but they hired me because they said, oh, you're an English major, you know how to write, and oh, we like your voice.
Right.
So I was like,
great voice.
All right, I'll figure it out. So fortunately, I was pretty scrappy, and I just somehow kind of figured it out. So that's how it all started for me, really, taking a chance.
So Reggie, I've known probably even a little longer than I've known you. We actually were partners in a venture going back. But, I mean, you've done so many things. You were raised in Portland, though, right?
Yep, Munjo Hill, Scrappa, back in the day, usually running from Apple. I really started in high school. I started working at Channel 6 as a studio cameraman.
Oh, wow.
They were the last station in the country to shoot movie film for the news.
Wow.
They stopped in 1981 with 16 millimeter film. So I actually job shadowed and then ended up basically had my own 60 millimeter camera, Bolex my dad had.
Yeah.
And so they'd give me free film and I'd run around shooting if I could catch a fire, I was by the fire station.
In high school?
In high school. I was a junior, even sophomore, trying to film fires all the time.
Right.
They'd give me $15.
Wow.
I'd use the film to shoot horror movies.
$15 was a lot of money back.
But I'd use the film all the time. They give me this free film. They develop it. So I'd shoot little horror movies with my free film. But anyway, I ended up working at Channel 6 as a studio cameraman. I ended up getting fired there because I was teaching myself how to edit on the new video equipment late at night.
Oh,
editing my little horror movies.
See, you should tell him how old you were.
Well, I was 17 at the time. Yeah.
There you go.
And then I went to work at Channel 8. I got a call to be a news cameraman at Channel 8 when I was 18. I was graduate high school, and I got a call be Monday. It was like, I don't know, it must have been Sunday because we had to be there Monday morning. I had to be there Monday morning and to be at Poland Springs.
Oh, that's a big deal.
Yeah, they gave me a news car, the whole thing. I got fired within 3 months.
No kidding.
I was out of there.
No wonder you start your own company. I had the same problem. Right?
So I'm like, all right, well, there's only I got Channel 13 or nothing at this point. Instead of that, I was just going to start doing my own thing. Doing video production locally was always, in my mind, a stepping stone to anything else.
Yeah.
So I was always kind of shooting pilots and.
Well, you have a lot of hobbies. If you go to your home studio, you've got, I don't know how many little
20,000
20,000
hand painted toy soldiers.
Yeah,
crazy, just saying stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm a kid. I'm really a kid, and the stuff I come up with, as Tori will tell you, because it's goofy, crazy, silly things. So, but and that's what I get to doing toy commercials. I did the little show for Nickelodeon.
Oh no,
animated show. You get a Cable Ace nomination for this show that was on the animated show on Nickelodeon. That was probably 97, 98.
Yeah.
But basically Nickelodeon, hired me to with this other guy, Howie, to make the show. But we wanted more money after the first season. They wanted to spend less money, so they wanted to leave the house afterwards.
So let's fast forward to what's going on today.
Yeah.
Right? You two end up partnering, or is it a joint venture, or is it a project by project?
Well, I got in with Reggie, really. I mean, we've known each other for a long time, but he brought me into Voices of Hope, that series that was on Maine Public.
11 one-hour episodes
Yeah.
about addiction in Maine.
Yeah.
And we just got an Emmy nomination, for one of the episodes on veterans in recovery. And we lost to the Boston Globe, but that's okay. So it was the New England Emmys, but that was, basically just, and that was the only episode we submitted.
It was, and it was one that I was not part of. So Reggie pulled me in after he was fully involved with it. But I mean, what I do is I can produce things.
Yep.
And so I would take all the interviews, I literally manually log them all rather than having AI do it. And my husband would come home from work and he'd be like, "How are you doing?" I'd be like, "That's literally sad," because the interviews.
Not because you had time,
So sad.
because the interview's very
Tough. I watched a few, and I watched.
They're so raw, so real. And, the people who spoke with Reggie, and they just had such courage that I have to say that they're just remarkable human beings and I think through their storytelling, ultimately, yes, they have helped save lives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really remarkable. So I came in really in cleanup mode, kind of like to pull it together, to find the story in it, which is what I love doing that. For me, it's like a private eye or something, pulling the pieces together. And
So you really,
I did voiceover too.
yeah. The other one you had Bill Green do.
We just did the very last episode on the cannabis deception.
Yeah.
Bill Green did the voiceover for that one, and we haven't submitted that to anything. But I mean, the what's interesting is that, and this is the first time this has really happened, which is that the show has now evolved into a whole effort to go to schools.
Yep.
And Dave Packham, who started this whole project, is now taking
Students empowered
to
to
independent.
end dependency. Seat.
Yep.
And so they're taking the young people that we've interviewed on the show and going to schools to say, "Hey, this is what's going on."
Yeah.
Specifically with high potency cannabis.
Yeah.
That's really, really bad. And so,
And I've spoken to a couple of parents after, I don't mean to interrupt you,
No.
but after he's made the presentation or whoever has been at the school, and people have said to me, it is so powerful. And for them, a lot of times parents kind of they're worried, they don't know what to do and all of that. And I think they really had a good kind of blueprint from that.
Finding a balance. I'm in the beer business, right? And I'm in the alcohol business, and I'm in the soda business, and but actually this drink is mushroom energy drink with Kitacep and Lion's Mane, which is like a natural Red Bull almost.
It's all the rage. Lion's Mane these days is,
Focus, and I don't know if it'll help me or hurt me, but at the same time, one of the I've been around. I've had family members that have had issues with addiction. I've had, my dad was a happy guy, but he had a little bit compulsion in gambling, but finding balance and dealing with all these different things, obviously there are things that are a lot worse than others, but it's absolutely, trying to get people not to do anything. It's a trick, right? Like government, trying to say you can never drink again. And
just say, it didn't really quite work.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, you can't.
So where's the balance, right? I don't know.
Right.
I think education of extremes, especially watching that cannabis one was eye opener. You have to really be aware of what you're doing and what the real milligrams are and who you're buying from and all of that. Because kids are going to, not just kids, adults are going to do what they're going to do. And
just think about when we were growing up and people would go get like a dime bag or whatever. I mean, nobody was talking about what's in it, and they would just go and have places that they would go and just have a meetup site where they would just hand off the money, and no one was worried about.
Right. Well, and even these other mushrooms, with cybersilic and all these other things that people are talking about that may be able to help with personal mental illness and all these other is just having and dealing with the right people that can deal with anything, or taking your time and maybe not doing whatever.
Right.
I have a lot of friends that don't drink anymore or don't do whatever, but then there are friends of mine that do gummies for going to sleep or whatever. But
it's I think that after 25, what adults do is it's their choice, and of course the reality is if they start doing something after 25 years of age, the chances of addiction drop like a lead bone. But if they're starting at 11, 12, 13, experimenting with marijuana and drinking and they're potentially on a path, and plenty of people have done that. I've never had any issues with it. But two people can take the same thing, and one person's like, I'm done with it. The next one is like, I want to feel like that every day for the rest of their life, which we were told. And so it's like, and we're just going to these schools and basically saying, look, here's what's going on. You're going to do what you're going to do. But at least rather than all of the propaganda that's going, oh, isn't this great? Oh, how, and they're like, well, how could it be bad if the state's saying it's okay for all these stores to be everywhere? But so it must be endorsed.
And it's also, it's kind of a crapshoot. Yeah. Are you going to be the one who has something in your brain that's going to say, I can't stop? Because we all have it in our families. Right. Every single person does. And so it's kind of like, which one, it's almost like, pick a straw, any straw. Which one of you is going to have
So is this a passion project, or is it are you trying to make a business out of documentaries and every type of documentary?
So you want us to fast forward on what we're working on now. So moving over to that.
What's the story? So I'll just say just simply that project is now just become the school effort that's going on.
That's fine.
We've made you more episodes of that, but Tori and I basically have been working on a new series.
Yeah.
So like that would be the segue.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So we're working on two that currently that we're really pushing. One of them is on forgiveness.
Okay.
And kind of
That's
just
a good one.
let that, because there's so many different levels.
You owns you, right?
Well, or self.
Yeah.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Or, there are a lot of different things, and people can go through life for a long time.
I wish I did this.
Holding on to that.
Yeah.
And so.
Should have done this.
So we want to delve into that in a second. But the second one is the Glass Slides documentary series, which is completely different from forgiveness. I mean, the thing is, they're all
Glass slides.
Yep. So
what's that?
In a nutshell, okay, real simple if it can be. 120 years ago, a self-taught photographer in Worcester, Massachusetts, took 5,000 glass pictures of buildings around Worcester just to document
photographs that were done on glass plates. At the time, that's how photographs were done, and he was a professional photographer.
You would take a bicycle, you get on a bus and go do these things. It turns out that he also took pictures of 500 Black and African Native American families around that Worcester area.
So they were part of the Great Migration. So slavery ends, right? So you've got the Civil War, slavery
20 years ago. When he was
taking their photos. It was about late 1800s.
Okay. Well, it was get into 1910, 1920. He was in that sort of early 1900 century realm. The families had been there for at least 20, 30 years.
Yeah. And I think the photos started in the 1880s that he was capturing them in this area called Camden in Worcester that they created based on the town called Camden in South Carolina, where they were slaves. Right. So they headed north, and just like so many different groups, area. The Irish, the Italian, everybody,
the Lebanese
they
here.
go.
El Morocco ended up on the hill in Worcester there, yes.
Right. And so you have these different groups of people. So they were in this area, and this guy, the photographer, his name is William Bullard, a white photographer who was just completely mesmerized, just really, he did a lot of work on taking photos of neighborhoods. He loved architecture.
Yeah.
But then he also he found these groups of people, and he started taking these photos, these portraits that are absolutely gorgeous, people in their finest, their finery, and the inside of these homes. And you can see the people had pianos. They had gone in a very, very, very narrow period of time from being on a plantation, working the fields, to owning their own homes and having beautiful clothing. And so they lived freely, and they were doing well also.
So let me, so here's where the story takes a turn and gets interesting. One of the things that he did is he logged every name and addresses for the people in these photos, which is incredibly rare. If you see a photo of any kind of older picture of any black family, chances are it's not going to have any information about it.
Well, how'd you find this project?
Well, here's what's interesting is that suddenly, almost 85 to 90 years later, this school teacher buys this collection, has no idea what he's buying. He finds out about these families, and it makes it his life mission to connect the families that exist today to those photos. He gets involved at Clark University. The students get involved. They start doing all this research for him. And these families suddenly not only find their links to heritage, but because of that information, the people at the Clark University are able to connect it directly to the plantations that these families have been from, including one these two brothers that we're going to be interviewing again that are in their 80s at this point. They found out that one of the great-great-grandparents was the first black sheriff of Vermont. They put a plaque up there because of these photos, because of this effort that's going on. And this complete all these stories, because the people just didn't know what the stories were. People are finding they're living only blocks from where their relatives had lived.
Oh, funny.
So we've been following this, and it's really about respect. It's like, here you got these two white men, a retired teacher, and you got this photographer paying this wonderful respect to these families. And one of the families, the Perkins family, I went down and filmed the great-great-great-great.
The Perkins family was a black.
So it just started with slide 76, and it was this woman named Celia Perkins.
Okay.
And so the history teacher,
which is a really New England name, Celia Perkins.
So the teacher was a history teacher, Frank Merrill, and or Frank Morrill, and there's so many Merrills and Morrills here. I mean, it's but he connected with a woman who was a professor at Clark, who was teaching courses on the Great Migration. She saw these images and she just was like, oh my God, something has to happen with these. So she had her students, as Reggie was saying, connect. And she was able to connect. They said the students, it's almost like Finding Your Roots. If you ever watch that show on PBS, it was a lot of work that they put in, and they were able to take Celia Perkins, number 76, and connect to her modern day descendants.
Oh, cool.
So in this series, we interview a mother and daughter. The daughter has just graduated from Harvard.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this absolutely beautiful young woman who's like, we had no idea. We never thought we were going to know our history.
Wow.
And her mother, who's a school principal in the Worcester area, said, what that history teacher has done for us is he's given us our history. I mean, it's like, it's one of those things that we take for granted, that we know our roots. And these people, they didn't know it then.
In underwriting doing this isn't cheap to do.
Well, let me say, we haven't raised much money. I've got a couple of donations, and I've had probably 8 different shoots down there that I've gone down. So most of the work's been on spec.
We've
got a trailer.
Do you have a website? How would somebody, if they see this and they go, I want to support that, how would they connect and support it?
So the Portland Media Center is acting as our fiscal agent, and people can write and send a check directly to the Portland Media Center in Portland.
Do they have a website, or they have an email?
And my email is regfilm@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I would invite people to contact me.
Or Tori Ryden at gmail.com, just TORYRYDEN at gmail.com.
Yeah, we could send the trailer, and we've got a whole sort of pitch deck for it. We're in the process of getting a new Kickstarter campaign and just really going for it.
On Monday, we're going down to Worcester to interview the students and this is back in 2012. This has been going on a long time. The students are flying in on their own dime to come and be interviewed by us on Monday, this coming up, to talk to us about how this project, when they were seniors and juniors in college, informed what they're doing now.
Very cool.
In a huge way. So I had asked them, are you doing now, the profession you're in now? And they said it was absolutely had a huge impact and a bearing on what they decided to go into. I mean, it's really great. So they're going to have
some great families around Worcester and that whole area, and there's a little bit of a revival going on. My brother went to Holy Cross, and we do business with people in that area because of our
But that's exciting.
My grandfather and all his brothers went to Holy Pass. They all, and they had a pub.
Is that what oh, no kidding.
They had a pub on Worcester Hill. No, right at
Worcester Hill.
Yeah, Conlon Pub.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that their name or is that?
Conlon, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Good,
So I'm going to say
good Irish pub.
Yeah.
I think as you may recall, I did a couple of projects, Peace, Love, and Zoo a while back, and Brothers, another documentary that won a bunch of awards, right?
Yeah.
Heart, very touching.
Yeah.
And so what we're looking to do is take all of these projects we've been working on,
Yeah.
package it in one series
Yeah.
called Our Way Forward. And although the forgiveness film is probably going to be a few episodes long, maybe 2 or 3,
Right.
Voices of Hope may or may not be part of that, but we're just looking at doing, so we're trying to basically take all of these separate projects and put into something. And the concept being how to get through really difficult things. And here's a path to do that. And here's a path that's just showing how much, what this is like the glass slides is about what does respect do?
Yeah.
Well, respect brings a lot to people who weren't expecting it, and the surprise and forgiveness and all these other projects.
And I want to just tell you with forgiveness, if you don't mind, I just want to say that the people who we already have interviews with, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
A guy who works, he's from Rwanda. He works at, I think, the Hannaford in Falmouth.
Oh, yeah.
He was, he grew up in Rwanda on a bus going to see his auntie, and terrorists get on board the bus with machetes and they kill everybody on board. And then they come up to him, he's 15, and they say, you'll come help us murder people.
Wow.
And he said, my God doesn't operate that way. So they cut off both of his hands. And he was in an orphanage getting better. He got home to his house, and guess who lived right next door to him? The machete guy. And he had to forgive him. He now, fast forward, is an amazing painter artist. He plays darts. He uses just the stumps. It's unbelievable. So that's just one of the stories, but the depths of how the human that you can actually forgive somebody after that. It's almost like, okay, if he can forgive that guy, maybe I can.
My dad never forgave the Japanese. He was a prisoner of war in the South Pacific, and and to his dying day, ever. So maybe that would have been healthier for him, but he kind of self-medicated with it.
I'll just say about that.
Too is funny though. Forgiveness, true forgiveness to the soul is I don't know if it's maybe it's possible, but I still feel like when somebody at some point there's got to be a little bit in you that says, okay, I mean, I've forgiven, I've done things in my life where I've let it, buried on the mountain. I just all these different things. I kind of train your brain to let it go because it's it's healthier for you, right?
Right,
So,
of course.
Still completely, there are moments you flash back and go,
in the end, though, it's like that person moved on with their lives.
right. You move forward.
And they don't even remember doing that. And so it's almost like it's salve to you, your heart, if you just, but I mean, can you do it? I don't know. These people who we profile are just like, you're like, oh my God.
If they can do that, maybe you can.
We interviewed the father.
Forgive the kid that stole your marbles.
Yeah, well, we
got him back.
Yeah.
We interviewed the father, one of the victims of the Lewiston shooting. His story of forgiveness is on Mike. While the guy was still alive, as far as he knew, and then, but also there's stories that are on the smaller scale, the more relatable scale. Because people who that you may not be able to relate to these really heavy things, they can relate to the fact that they haven't been able to forgive their brother or the father or a molestation, for instance, which is not a small thing.
Or the person who stole the marbles. I mean, seriously, it really, in the level, and nobody can judge, right? Because everybody has kind of a different place.
Yeah,
but the hospice,
especially within families,
people in hospice, who are on the dying bed, either looking for forgiveness, something, or giving forgiveness. That's very common, and people in hospice see this all the time.
Yeah,
and how big that is. And of course, you have the religious aspects of this as well.
Right.
And so, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, a lot of people are killing themselves, smoking and drinking, and festering these things that lead to heart disease, and cancer.
And there are people that are going through that, or you see that, and I know people are like. It brings to mind some people I know right now that are struggling with that stuff. If you can produce something that gives people a tool,
yes,
it's pretty possible.
I was just going to say that. I mean, I think that's a big piece of this, which is, you can't give everybody the blueprint. It's not going to be one size fits all. But if you get people thinking about stuff, just thinking about it. And, it's hopefully it helps them with their lives. And,
Was enough conflict and things, that you
Mhm.
just are reoccurring or.
We need to find joy again. I really do. I honestly say we all need to be a little bit more childlike.
Yeah.
And do fun things and
Easy for me.
Yeah.
and do.
Easier for me. I haven't grown up yet. So
I think when you have a grandchild, like you go,
6.
you go experience,
Yeah.
and hopefully they find a way to disconnect from the games and cell phones and all that stuff, and just go for a walk on the beach or whatever. It's fun that you can kind of do that stuff. So
I did interview you.
Yeah.
I did interview you about that project as
Yeah.
part of this series, Silent Summer, about the children lack of play. And that's
Yeah.
going to be another episode
Yeah.
where we're going to focus on these two first before we get back to that one.
Right.
But that's about children and device addiction. So that'll be aware. So
Those are the children.
yes, yeah.
Well, and you have, we were fortunate, and like I grew up in a neighborhood where, we never had babysitters. You go to Chucky's house, you go to
Oh, of course.
Bradley's house, so they come to your house, and nobody locked the door in Gray, Maine back then, 1960s and 70s, and bad things did happen, but for the most part, good things happened. One time Chuck and I painted each other with kerosene, and that was a bad thing.
It's
And
really
at the
bad.
time we were having fun, right? Walking, everybody screaming, "Don't light a match!" Like,
Oh, God.
but we have some funny stories of accidentally burning the garage down, stuff like that. It was my brother's birthday, but
We were lucky. We're all of the same vintage. And so we were really, really lucky when we grew up.
yeah,
Because of that, there was that freedom. When did you wear a bike helmet? And you take off on your bike and you'd be gone all day. Like, where's Fred? I don't know. Somewhere.
lights come on,
Like, right?
Yes.
Exactly. You got to be.
At least for 9 o'clock whistle.
right?
9 o'clock whistle on Munger Hill. The horns blow
Yeah,
on the hill. But it was, that's a universal story.
yeah.
The lights come on, you come home. That's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's really something.
You guys come from this world, TV, radio.
I love radio.
It's evolving so much, right?
Mhm.
It's like one of the reasons I'm doing this show for the viewers and others is, a friend of mine said, it was about a year ago. He says, you have to, because I was never a guy that put Fred Forsley out there. I was my Shipyard, this stuff. It's like, if you don't develop a voice for yourself, people are going to speak for you. So you have to figure out
Oh,
a
gosh.
way.
That's a really good
You
point.
figure out a way to connect and to communicate. And you guys are experts at it. You've done it your whole career.
We could probably take a cue from that, though, because I think I kind of think, I know I can just speak for myself, that I interviewed people and I loved interviewing people because I didn't have to talk about myself. Right. And then you can get somebody else's story and you put it and you profile it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I always found it far more interesting. So if somebody asked me about me, I'd be like, oh, there's really nothing interesting to say, really, truly. And so I think that for me, that always worked really well. But you're right. You do have to
You have to figure it out, right? Like, at the same time, it's fun. I'm having a blast. This is spending time like this. You very rarely get a chance to do that. And you can ask people to come talk about whatever's going on. And you guys are interviewing different subjects, different things, and the diversity of doing documentaries. It's probably no better time to be doing documentaries than right now, right? Because people need content. People want.
They do. And the kind of Achilles heel to that is that the whole paradigm has shifted, that you really, and I think it was Discovery Channel that kind of started this whole way of doing it, which is you're responsible. Like, as long as you've created something, then they'll put it on their network. But it's like you're on the hook.
Yeah.
And it's not like the old days where they'd say, "Oh, great, then we'll send you here and we'll send you there," and it's just like, bring us the completed product, and then we'll consider it.
Well, and one thing that Tori was able to set up was we had a great meeting at Channel 6, which they own. They're part of the Tegna Group, which has 260 some odd stations. Right?
I think 63. I think fewer than 200 something, but they have a lot of kind of
263 or 60.
No, I think it's 63, but it doesn't. And I'm not trying to correct, but I think they've got other.
At least to get on that, you can get.
Oh, they'd give it a wide open. They've said, "Look,
you have an entree." So because he's general manager, great guy, Micah Malloy, and he would then pitch it throughout the whole system. And look, let's face it, like you just said, content is king.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you've got some good content, and I mean, Reg is a phenomenal film, the way
I don't know.
come out are just beautiful.
You guys know Rory Strunk, Cold.
Yeah.
So Rory's working on this Stream State.
Yeah.
Which is, and I've, helped support that with some cameras and events and things that we've been doing from like Fennel Jacks and Camden Harbor, the Tops from Sea Dog. And I think he's onto something. And I think like the stuff you do would be a vehicle to be shown and then wherever else it goes. But who knows? I mean, he obviously has been successful and done a number of different things. We've worked on a bunch of projects.
Yeah.
Another guy that I interviewed on this and had some fun doing it. But you got to try, right? You got to try.
You got to try. And I'll tell you, the stories don't end and the ideas don't end as long as you're open to them. You keep your eyes open and people come in. And
the things I mentioned too is that, like Voices of Hope going to schools,
yep.
We have a couple of people in our program, one in particular, who wants to take the show of the forgiveness and go on the road and give a speech and talk and show the films.
Right.
The glass slides. They people want to show that they want to show that in Worcester, different places. So, I think it's, when you think of a documentary as sort of just, it's going to be on that station at that time, it's no longer that. Yeah. It's sort of limited. Right. It's all about, not only having showings, but also talks and really bringing things to the next level, not just showing it, but really having somebody involved like we do with the young students that go in and tell about their experiences.
Yeah.
And that really, that raises the bar in terms of what people take away when they walk away. That's like, boom,
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to be, that's also another sort of an aspect that's very exciting about it.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting. Yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank you both for coming, and our lives connect many, many times.
Let's say cheers again. Yeah.
Cheers to the future.
Slancha.
Mm.